The massive alien ship drifted silently through the outer edges of the solar system, its hull gleaming with the soft blue light of advanced technology. Ambassador Zixtal stood before the observation deck, his 4 eyes studying the small blue planet that hung before them like a jewel in the darkness. The harmony of stars had traveled for months to reach this remote corner of the galaxy, following radio signals that suggested intelligent life. Ambassador, we are receiving primitive electromagnetic transmissions from the third planet, reported Communications Officer Veltar, her tentacles dancing across the control interface. The signals appear to be entertainment broadcasts and what seems to be military communications. Zixtal nodded slowly. Another primitive world, another species that needed guidance to join the galactic community. The Centauri Collective had performed this duty hundreds of times before. They would make contact, assess the species' development level, and begin the slow process of integration. It was peaceful work, satisfying work. Prepare the standard first. Contact protocol, Zixtal commanded. Broadcast our peaceful intentions in their dominant languages. We shall approach slowly to avoid causing panic. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. 12 different species worked together on the bridge, each contributing their unique abilities to the mission. The harmony of stars was a marvel of cooperative engineering, designed specifically for diplomatic missions to developing worlds. As they entered the planet's outer atmosphere, warning alarms began to sound. Ambassador, called out Navigator Quendix, his voice tight with concern, we are being actively scanned by multiple sources on the planet's surface. The scanning technology appears to be surprisingly sophisticated. Before Zixtal could respond, a new voice crackled through the communications system. The voice was deep, confident, and spoke in clear galactic standard. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. You are entering restricted airspace. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. The bridge fell silent. Zixtal's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of confusion in his species. Earth Defense Force, he repeated slowly. They have a military organization monitoring. Space, Ambassador, Veltar whispered. They are using our own communication protocols. How do they know galactic standard? Zixtal composed himself and activated the communication system. Greetings, Captain Morrison. I am Ambassador Zixtal of the Centauri Collective. We come in peace, seeking to establish diplomatic relations. With your species? There was a brief pause before Morrison's voice returned. Well, that's interesting. We've been wondering when you folks would show up. Please proceed to coordinates 34.905 north, 117.881 west. Edwards Air Force Base is prepared to receive you. The alien crew exchanged bewildered glances. The humans had been expecting them. More concerning, they were being directed to land at what was clearly identified as a military installation. Captain Morrison, Zixtal said carefully, perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. We seek peaceful contact with your civilian leadership. Morrison's laugh echoed through the bridge. Don't worry, Ambassador. Edwards is just our most secure facility for this kind of thing. We've got your people covered. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez is our lead xenobiologist, and she's excited to meet you. As the harmony of stars descended toward the designated coordinates, the crew watched in growing amazement. The planet's surface was covered in massive structures, transportation networks, and what appeared to be industrial complexes. This was no primitive world. Ambassador, reported Science Officer Yexenol, preliminary scans indicate this planet has a highly toxic atmosphere. Oxygen concentration is at 21%, which would be lethal to most known species. The atmospheric pressure is also significantly higher than standard, Zixtal frowned. Prepare full environmental suits for the landing party. We cannot risk exposure to such a hostile environment. The ship touched down on a vast concrete expanse surrounded by geometric structures. Through the viewports, they could see vehicles approaching and humanoid figures moving with purpose. The beings appeared to be walking freely in the toxic atmosphere, without any protective equipment. Impossible, breathed Medical Officer Hicksman. No known species can survive in such conditions without technological support. A group of humans approached the ship, led by a figure in what appeared to be a primitive protective suit. The being removed its helmet, revealing a face with two forward-facing eyes, a clear sign of a predator species. This was Dr. Lisa Rodriguez. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice transmitted through their communication system. "I hope your journey wasn't too difficult." Zixtal, now wearing a full environmental suit with multiple backup life support systems, emerged from the ship with his delegation. The contrast was stark. The humans stood casually in their hostile environment while the aliens required extensive technological support just to survive. "Dr. Rodriguez," Zixtal began, "we are honored by your welcome. However, we must express concern about the atmospheric conditions. Are you certain you do not require protective equipment?" Dr. Rodriguez smiled, an expression that revealed rows of cutting teeth. "Oh, this is normal for us. Actually, today's weather is quite pleasant. It's only about 75 degrees Fahrenheit." The alien medical sensors immediately began recording dangerous readings from the human delegation. Their internal body temperatures were fluctuating wildly, their hearts were beating at rates that should indicate severe distress, and their muscle tension suggested they were under extreme physical stress. "Dr. Rodriguez," Medical Officer Hicksman interrupted, "our readings indicate you are suffering from severe physiological distress. Do you require immediate medical assistance?" The human woman looked puzzled. "I feel fine. Actually, pretty good. I had my morning coffee and did a quick 5-mile run before you arrived." The alien delegation stood in stunned silence. This being had voluntarily engaged in strenuous physical activity in an atmosphere that should have killed her instantly. Either humans possessed technology beyond galactic standards, or they had somehow evolved to survive in conditions that would destroy most known life forms. As they walked toward the human structures, Zixtal began to realize that this first contact mission might be very different from any they had experienced before. The humans moved with the easy confidence of apex predators in their natural environment, while the aliens struggled with every step in their bulky protective gear. "Tell me, Dr. Rodriguez," Zixtal said, "how long have your people been capable of space travel?" "Oh, we've been working on it for about 70 years or so," she replied casually. "We're still pretty new at it, but we're learning fast. 70 years. The Centauri Collective had been traveling between stars for over 3,000 years. Yet these humans had somehow developed faster-than-light communication and sophisticated scanning technology in less than a century. More disturbing, they had done it while living on a world that would be classified as uninhabitable by galactic standards. As they entered the human facility, Zixtal could not shake the feeling that they were not here to guide a primitive species into the galactic community. Instead, they might be about to discover something that would challenge everything they thought they knew about life in the universe. Dr. Maria Santos stood in the medical facility at Edwards Air Force Base, reviewing the most unusual patient files she had ever encountered. The alien delegation had requested comprehensive medical examinations, claiming it was standard protocol for first contact situations. What they discovered would shake the foundations of galactic medicine. "Ambassador Zixtal," Dr. Santos said as she approached the examination table where the alien leader lay connected to various monitoring devices, "your physiology is fascinating. Your species appears to have evolved in a much more stable environment than ours." Zixtal's 4 eyes focused on the human doctor with growing concern. "Dr. Santos, we must discuss the alarming readings we are detecting from your people. Our medical scanners indicate that humans are operating under severe physical stress that should be immediately fatal." Dr. Santos raised an eyebrow and glanced at her own medical readings displayed on the wall monitor. "These are normal human vital signs, Ambassador. Heart rate of 72 beats per minute, blood pressure of 120/80, body temperature of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Everything looks perfectly healthy." Medical Officer Hicksman, who had been silently monitoring the conversation, suddenly activated his emergency protocols. Dr. Santos, those readings indicate your cardiovascular system is operating at crisis levels. Your heart rate alone would cause immediate system failure in any known species. The human doctor looked puzzled. 72 beats per minute is actually quite good for my age? When I exercise, it can go up to 160 or higher. The alien medical team exchanged alarmed glances. HFY's translator struggled to process the concept. You intentionally increase your heart rate to levels that would cause death. This is some form of ritual combat training. No, it's just jogging, Dr. Santos replied with a smile. I run about 3 miles every morning. It keeps me healthy. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Phillips entered the medical bay at that moment, still wearing his workout clothes and breathing heavily from his daily exercise routine. The alien sensors immediately went into full alert mode as they detected his elevated vital signs. Morning, Doc, Ryan said casually. Just finished my PT test. Not bad for an old guy. Ran the mile in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. The alien delegation watched in horror as their scanners indicated that this human had voluntarily pushed his body to what should have been fatal stress levels. His heart rate was over 140 beats per minute. His body temperature had risen to dangerous levels, and his muscle tissue showed signs of controlled damage. Colonel Phillips, Zixtel said urgently, you require immediate medical intervention. Our readings suggest you are suffering from severe cardiovascular distress and multiple organ system failures. Ryan laughed and wiped sweat from his forehead. I feel great, actually. That's the best time I've run in months. The endorphins are kicking in nicely. Dr. Santos began conducting a demonstration for the alien medical team. Let me show you some basic human physical capabilities, she said, moving to the exercise equipment in the corner of the room. This is completely normal for our species. She began with simple stretching exercises, which caused the alien monitors to register what they interpreted as voluntary self-torture. When she moved to basic strength training, lifting weights that were significant fractions of her body weight, the alien medical computers began calculating survival probabilities. Dr. Santos, HFY said, his voice filled with professional concern, you are deliberately causing microscopic tears in your muscle tissue. This is a form of controlled self-destruction. That's how muscles grow stronger, she explained patiently. We stress them, they repair themselves, and they become more capable. It's basic human physiology. The concept was incomprehensible to the alien medical team. Their species had evolved in stable, safe environments where physical stress was avoided at all costs. The idea of deliberately damaging tissue to improve performance was beyond their understanding. Colonel Phillips decided to demonstrate what humans considered normal physical activity. He performed a set of push-ups, counting out loud as he lowered, and raised his body weight repeatedly. The alien sensors registered each repetition as an act of extreme physical trauma. 50, he finished, standing up and breathing normally. Not bad for a 45-year-old. The alien medical team requested an immediate conference. They huddled together, their various appendages gesturing frantically as they discussed the implications of what they were witnessing. Ambassador, HFY reported, we believe these humans may be suffering from a species-wide psychological disorder. They appear to be addicted to physical stress and pain. This would explain their aggressive military organization and their ability to survive in such a hostile environment. Dr. Santos overheard the conversation and approached the group. Actually, let me show you something that might help you understand human physiology better, she said, leading them to a computer terminal. These are temperature records from various human settlements around the world. The data displayed on the screen showed temperature ranges that spanned from -40 degrees Celsius to +50 degrees Celsius. Humans live and work in all of these environments, Dr. Santos explained. Some of us even choose to live in the extreme locations. Choose, Zixtel repeated slowly. Your people voluntarily inhabit regions that would be immediately lethal to most galactic species. Well, we've adapted, Dr. Santos said with a shrug. We have settlements in Antarctica where the temperature can drop to -70 degrees. We also have cities and deserts where it regularly reaches 50 degrees. People actually like living in these places. Captain Betty Williams entered the medical bay carrying a tablet displaying various images. Dr. Santos, the ambassador, requested information about human recreational activities. I've prepared a presentation. The first image showed humans jumping out of aircraft with fabric wings. The alien medical team's emergency protocols activated immediately as they processed the concept of voluntary falling from extreme heights. This is called skydiving, Captain Williams explained. It's a popular weekend activity. People do it for fun. The next image showed humans climbing vertical rock faces without mechanical assistance. Several alien delegates required immediate medical attention as their stress responses overwhelmed their systems. Rock climbing, Captain Williams continued. Some people do this without safety equipment. They call it free soloing. The final image showed humans riding down snow-covered mountains on narrow boards at high speeds. The alien medical computers simply displayed error messages as they attempted to process the survival probability calculations. This is skiing, Captain Williams said. Many humans spend their vacations doing this. It's considered relaxing. Ambassador Zixtal's 4 eyes had gone completely black, a sign of extreme psychological stress in his species. Captain Williams, you're showing us evidence that humans regularly engage in activities that would be classified as attempted suicide by any rational species. Dr. Santos looked at the images and nodded thoughtfully. I suppose it might look dangerous to someone who didn't grow up here. But these are actually pretty safe activities when you know what you're doing. The real extreme sports are much more intense. The alien delegation requested an immediate return to their ship. They had seen enough to understand that humans were not a primitive species requiring guidance. They were something far more disturbing. A species that had evolved to thrive in conditions that would destroy most known life forms. And they did it while treating mortal danger as entertainment. As the aliens prepared to leave the medical facility, Dr. Santos called out to them, Ambassador, we're planning a barbecue tonight if you'd like to join us. We'll be grilling some local food. The alien medical team unanimously declined, having no desire to witness humans consuming substances that their analysis had already classified as toxic compounds. The galaxy, they realized, contained horrors they had never imagined. Dr. Carl Johnson stood at the entrance of Yellowstone National Park, adjusting his field equipment while the alien delegation prepared for what they believed would be a controlled scientific observation. The morning air was crisp and clean, perfect for a nature walk that would demonstrate Earth's ecosystem to their galactic visitors. Dr. Johnson had specifically chosen this location as one of the safer areas to showcase Earth's wildlife. Ambassador Zixtal, Dr. Johnson said cheerfully, I thought you might enjoy seeing some of our planet's natural beauty. Yellowstone is one of our most popular tourist destinations. Millions of people visit here every year for relaxation and recreation. The alien delegation, now wearing enhanced environmental suits with additional protection systems, followed nervously behind the human scientist. Their sensors were already detecting concerning levels of sulfur compounds, extreme temperature variations, and what their computers classified as unstable geological activity. Dr. Johnson, Science Officer Yuxanal said through his suit's communication system, our readings indicate significant seismic instability in this region. Should we not avoid areas of active volcanic activity? Oh, that's just the hot springs and geysers, Dr. Johnson replied casually. The whole park sits on top of a supervolcano, but it's been dormant for about 70,000 years. Nothing to worry about. The alien delegation stopped walking entirely. Their computers began calculating evacuation routes while their geological experts tried to process the information that humans had built a recreational facility directly above a potential extinction level event. You bring your offspring here, Ambassador Zixtal said slowly, for pleasure activities. Absolutely, Dr. Johnson confirmed. Families love camping here. Kids especially enjoy the wildlife viewing opportunities. As they continued along the walking trail, Park Ranger Susan Mitchell approached them with her usual friendly demeanor. She was carrying what appeared to be a primitive projectile weapon and wearing minimal protective equipment. "Morning, Carl," she called out. "Just finished. Checking the bear activity reports. We've got a grizzly sow with cubs about 2 miles north, and there's been some wolf pack movement near the river. Perfect day for wildlife watching." The alien security team immediately activated their combat protocols upon hearing the words bear and wolf. Their translation systems identified these as large predatory mammals capable of killing humans. "Ranger Mitchell," Zixtel said urgently, "you report the presence of apex predators in the immediate area." "Should we not evacuate the civilians?" Susan Mitchell looked puzzled. "The bears and wolves pretty much keep to themselves. We just make sure people know they're around so they can enjoy watching them safely. Most visitors hope to see some big wildlife during their trip." Dr. Johnson nodded enthusiastically. "That's right. People come here specifically hoping to see bears, wolves, mountain lions, and other predators. It's one of the main attractions." The alien delegation's risk assessment. Computers began displaying critical failure warnings. The concept of voluntarily entering territory inhabited by species that could kill them was beyond their programming parameters. As they walked deeper into the park, Dr. Johnson began pointing out various plants and animals. "That's a beautiful patch of poison ivy," he said, indicating some green vegetation. "And over there, those are some lovely wildflowers. The red ones are toxic, but they're gorgeous this time of year." Science Officer Yexenal S. Scanner began detecting an alarming array of chemical compounds. "Dr. Johnson, our analysis indicates that the majority of plant life in this area produces substances that would be classified as biological weapons by galactic standards." "Really?" Dr. Johnson said with interest. "Which ones are you picking up on?" "The specimen you identified as poison ivy produces urushiol, which would cause severe chemical burns to most known species. The colorful flowers contain cardiac glycosides. That would cause immediate organ failure. There appears to be no safe plant life in this ecosystem," Dr. Johnson shrugged. "You just have to know what not to touch. Most of the dangerous plants are actually quite easy to identify once you learn the basics." The group paused near a small stream where several human families were engaged in recreational activities. Children were playing in the water while adults supervised from the banks. The alien sensors detected multiple life forms moving beneath the water's surface. "The water contains predatory fish," reported Yexenal. "Some specimens appear to be quite large." "Those are probably trout," Dr. Johnson said. "People come here to catch them for food. It's called fishing, and it's a very popular family activity." The aliens watched in horror as a human child, no more than 10 years old, waded into the stream and began searching under rocks with his bare hands. The child's parents watched approvingly from the shore. "That juvenile is deliberately placing himself in contact with unknown aquatic life forms," Zixtel observed. "This appears to be some form of survival training. He's just looking for interesting rocks and maybe some crawfish," Dr. Johnson explained. "Kids love exploring streams. It's how they learn about nature." The peaceful scene was interrupted by a rustling in the nearby bush. A small brown animal emerged and began approaching the human families. The alien security team immediately raised their weapons, but Dr. Johnson quickly motioned for them to stop. "It's just a raccoon," he said calmly. "They're curious little guys, probably looking for food scraps." The raccoon, completely ignoring the heavily armed alien delegation, walked directly up to one of the human children and began investigating the contents of a picnic basket. The child giggled and gently shooed the animal away. "That creature has claws and teeth capable of inflicting serious injury," observed Security Chief Kekstar. "Yet the human juvenile shows no fear response." "Raccoons are pretty harmless," Dr. Johnson said. "They're actually quite intelligent. People sometimes think they're cute, though they can be mischievous around campsites." The alien delegation watched as more wildlife began appearing around the recreational area. Squirrels climbed freely among the human families. Birds landed. on picnic tables to steal food, and several deer wandered through the campsite without causing any alarm among the humans. Your species coexists peacefully with these predators, Zixtel said, his voice filled with confusion. Well, most of them aren't really predators, Dr. Johnson replied. The deer are herbivores, the squirrels mostly eat nuts and seeds, and the birds are just looking for an easy meal. They've gotten used to people over the years. But the bears and wolves you mentioned earlier, Yixono pressed. These are legitimate apex predators. Sure, but attacks are really rare, Dr. Johnson said. People just need to be careful about food storage and keep their distance. Most bears and wolves are actually afraid of humans. They'll avoid contact if they can. The group continued their walk along the trail, passing more human visitors who were engaging in various activities. Some were photographing wildlife, others were hiking with large packs, and several were setting up camps for overnight stays. Dr. Johnson, Ambassador Zixtel said slowly, these humans are planning to remain in this predator-inhabited area after dark. Camping is great fun, Dr. Johnson confirmed. There's nothing quite like sleeping under the stars and waking up to the sounds of nature. Many people consider it the best part of visiting a national park. The alien delegation requested an immediate private conference. They gathered in a tight circle, their various appendages gesturing frantically as they discussed what they were witnessing. The humans have created recreational facilities in active predator territory, Zixtel summarized. They bring their offspring here for pleasure activities. They voluntarily remain in the area during the hours when nocturnal predators are most active, and they consider this relaxing. Ambassador, Medical Officer Hicksman added, I'm detecting elevated stress hormones in the human population, but they appear to be interpreting these chemical responses as positive experiences. They seem to enjoy the physiological arousal caused by potential danger. There's more, Security Chief Kekstar reported. The humans are consuming plant and animal matter that would be toxic to most galactic species. They appear to have evolved specifically to survive in this hostile environment. Dr. Johnson approached the group with a friendly smile. Everything okay? You all look a bit concerned. Dr. Johnson, Zixtel said carefully, how long have humans been living in environments like this? Oh, we've been living alongside these animals for thousands of years, Dr. Johnson replied. Our ancestors actually hunted many of these species. For food, we've learned to coexist pretty well. The alien delegation stood in stunned silence. The humans had not only survived in an environment filled with predators, toxic plants, and geological instability, but they had also turned it into a recreational destination where they brought their children for fun as they prepared to leave. The park, Dr. Johnson made one final comment that would haunt the alien delegation for years to come. You know, Yellowstone is actually considered one of our safer national parks. If you really want to see some exciting wildlife, you should visit Alaska or the Amazon rainforest. The aliens decided they had seen enough of Earth's ecosystem for one day. Dr. Helen Murphy sat in the conference room at Edwards Air Force Base, surrounded by historical documents, maps, and artifacts that told the story of human civilization. The alien delegation had requested a comprehensive briefing on human history, hoping to understand how such a seemingly fragile species had managed to survive on what they now classified as the most dangerous planet in the known galaxy. Ambassador Zixtal, Dr. Murphy began, spreading out a world map covered in colored markers. Human history is essentially a story of adaptation and survival. We faced challenges that would have eliminated most species, yet somehow we've not only survived but thrived. The alien delegation, now wearing their heaviest protective equipment after their terrifying experience in Yellowstone, gathered around the table. Their sensors were constantly monitoring the environment, still unable to believe that humans could function normally in such hostile conditions. Dr. Murphy, anthropologist Nexvar said through his suit's communication system, our preliminary analysis suggests that your species has spread across every landmass on this planet. This would be impossible for most known civilizations. That's correct, Dr. Murphy confirmed. Humans have established permanent settlements in every environment. On Earth, from the Arctic ice sheets to tropical rainforests, from high mountain peaks to below sea level, we've learned to live everywhere. She pointed to various locations on the map. Here's Barrow, Alaska, where humans live in permanent darkness for months at a time with temperatures reaching -40 degrees Celsius. Down here is Death Valley, California, where people live in temperatures that regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius. And this is La Paz, Bolivia, where humans have built a major city at an altitude where most species would suffer from oxygen deprivation. The alien delegation's atmospheric specialists began calculating survival probabilities. Dr. Murphy, Science. Officer Yuxano said urgently, "Our analysis indicates that the locations you've described should be uninhabitable. The atmospheric pressure variations alone would cause immediate physiological failure in most known species." "Humans are pretty adaptable," Dr. Murphy replied with a smile. "We've had to be. Our planet has thrown everything at us over the millennia, and we've learned to roll with the punches." Engineer Tony Baker entered the room carrying a collection of primitive tools and modern equipment. "Dr. Murphy asked me to bring some examples of human problem-solving throughout history," he said, setting the items on the table. The alien delegation examined the artifacts with growing alarm. Simple stone tools that had been shaped for cutting and scraping were displayed alongside complex metal implements. Their analysis revealed that humans had consistently found ways to weaponize their environment. "These are flint knapping tools," Tony explained, picking up a piece of shaped stone. "Our ancestors discovered that they could chip rocks in specific ways to create sharp edges. From there, they developed more sophisticated cutting implements." He demonstrated by taking a piece of raw flint and striking it with another stone. In moments, he had created a sharp blade capable of cutting through organic material. The alien security team immediately classified the demonstration as weapons manufacturing. "Mr. Baker," Security Chief Kekstar said nervously, "you have just created a lethal weapon from naturally occurring materials? Is this standard human education?" "Basic survival skills," Tony replied casually. "Most humans learn some version of this in school or through outdoor programs. You never know when you might need to make tools from whatever's available." Dr. Murphy continued the historical presentation. "The remarkable thing about humans is that we've survived multiple extinction-level events that should have wiped us out completely. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, climate changes that would have eliminated most species. The alien delegation accessed their geological databases and cross-referenced them with Earth's history. What they found was deeply disturbing. The planet had experienced catastrophic events that had destroyed most life forms multiple times throughout its history." "Dr. Murphy," Zixtel said, his voice filled with confusion, "according to our records, your planet experienced a supervolcanic eruption approximately 74,000 years ago? This event should have caused a global extinction." "The Toba supervolcano," Dr. Murphy nodded. "That was a close one. It reduced the human population to maybe a few thousand individuals. But we survived, adapted, and eventually repopulated the entire planet. The concept was incomprehensible to the alien delegation. Their own species had evolved in stable environments where such catastrophic events were impossible. The idea that a species could survive repeated near extinctions was beyond their understanding. There's more," Dr. Murphy continued. "About 12,000 years ago, we experienced rapid climate change that ended the last ice age. Most species would have struggled to adapt to such dramatic environmental shifts. Humans used it as an opportunity to develop agriculture and establish permanent settlements." Sergeant Lisa Taylor entered the room and was asked to explain human military organization. "Dr. Murphy thought you might be interested in understanding human group dynamics," she said, setting up a presentation display. "Humans have something called pack behavior," Lisa explained. "When we're threatened, we don't just run away or fight individually. We coordinate our responses and work together as a unified group. The alien delegation watched video footage of human military units working together with seamless coordination. What they saw challenged their understanding of individual versus group survival strategies. "Sergeant Taylor," Zixenal asked, "these humans are willing to sacrifice themselves to protect the group. This behavior should be evolutionarily disadvantageous." "Actually, it's one of our greatest strengths," Lisa replied. "A human who's protecting their family or their unit will fight with a level of determination that's almost impossible to stop. We call it fighting for something bigger than yourself." The aliens watched more footage showing humans in various crisis situations. During natural disasters, humans consistently risked their own safety to help others. During conflicts, human soldiers regularly chose to stay behind to ensure their comrades could escape. "Your species has weaponized altruism," Zixtel observed. "You've turned self-sacrifice into a tactical advantage." Tony Baker demonstrated more human problem-solving abilities by creating a functional cutting tool from a piece of scrap metal and a stone. "The key to human survival is adaptability," he said. "We can take almost anything in our environment and turn it into something useful." The alien delegation's computers began calculating the implications of this ability. Humans could potentially weaponize any environment they encountered. More disturbing, they could adapt to virtually any conditions by creating tools and strategies on the fly. "Dr. Murphy," Ambassador Zixtel said slowly, "your species has not simply survived on this death world. You have thrived by becoming more dangerous than the environment itself." "I wouldn't say dangerous," Dr. Murphy replied thoughtfully. "We've just learned to be resourceful." When you live on a planet that's constantly trying to kill you, you develop a certain level of creativity and determination. The alien delegation requested access to human historical records of warfare and conflict. What they discovered was that humans had not only survived external threats, but had also fought extensive wars against each other while simultaneously dealing with environmental challenges. "You have conducted organized combat operations while your planet was experiencing ice ages," Zixtel noted. "Your species engages in territorial disputes during global catastrophes." "Humans are complicated," Dr. Murphy admitted. "We compete with each other, but we also come together when faced with common threats. It's part of what makes us adaptable." The final revelation came when the aliens learned about human exploration and expansion. Despite living on a world filled with dangers, humans had consistently pushed into new territories, seeking out even more challenging environments. "Dr. Murphy," Yixenal said, "your species actively seeks out hostile environments to inhabit. This behavior is completely contrary to known survival instincts." "We get curious," Dr. Murphy said with a shrug. "We want to see what's over the next hill, across the next ocean, or beyond the next mountain range. It's driven us to explore and settle every corner of our planet." The alien delegation sat in stunned silence as they processed the implications. Humans had not just survived on a death world, they had turned themselves into the apex predators of their environment through intelligence, adaptability, and an incomprehensible willingness to face danger for the sake of curiosity. As the briefing concluded, Dr. Murphy made one final observation that would haunt the alien delegation's dreams. "The funny thing is, Ambassador, most humans don't really think of Earth as particularly dangerous. This is just home to us. We've never known anything different." The aliens realized they had not discovered a primitive species in need of protection. They had found the galaxy's most successful survivors, and they had no idea how dangerous they truly were. Dr. Kevin Thompson walked into the Cultural Center at Edwards Air Force Base carrying an armload of books, films, and musical recordings that represented thousands of years of human creativity. The alien delegation had specifically requested this meeting to understand how a species living under constant mortal danger had managed to develop what appeared to be sophisticated artistic and cultural expressions. "Ambassador Zixtal," Dr. Thompson said as he arranged the materials on several tables, "human culture is probably our most complex characteristic. We create art, music, literature, and entertainment even while dealing with the daily challenges of surviving on our planet." The alien delegation now wearing reinforced environmental suits after their previous encounters with human civilization, approached the displays with their usual mixture of scientific curiosity and deep concern. Their cultural analysts had been working overtime trying to understand how a species under constant stress could produce anything beyond basic survival behaviors. Dr. Thompson, cultural specialist Jexelin, said through her suit's communication system, "Our preliminary observations suggest that humans engage in creative activities that serve no apparent survival function. This behavior contradicts most known evolutionary patterns. Actually, culture and creativity are huge parts of what makes us human," Dr. Thompson replied. "We've been creating art, telling stories, and making music for as long as we've existed as a species. Even in the most difficult circumstances, humans find ways to express themselves creatively." He picked up a collection of cave paintings reproduced in a book. "These are some of our earliest artistic expressions, created over 30,000 years ago. Humans were living in caves, hunting dangerous animals for food, and dealing with Ice Age conditions. Yet they still took time to create beautiful artwork on cave walls." The alien delegation examined the images with growing confusion. Their analysis showed that the artwork was created during periods of extreme environmental stress, when survival should have required all available resources and energy. "Dr. Thompson," Jexelin observed, "these artistic expressions were created during your planet's ice age. The environmental conditions during that period should have made survival the only priority." "Humans have always made time for art," Dr. Thompson said with a smile. "Even when things are difficult, we need to express ourselves. It's part of how we process our experiences and connect with each other." Librarian Nancy Foster entered the room carrying a selection of books and digital media. "Dr. Thompson asked me to bring some examples of human storytelling," she said, setting up a computer terminal. "I thought you might find our fiction interesting." The alien delegation gathered around as Nancy began displaying examples of human literature and cinema. What they saw challenged their understanding of rational thought processes. "This is called science fiction," Nancy explained, showing them book covers featuring spacecraft, alien worlds, and futuristic technology. "Humans create stories about imaginary situations that have never happened. We imagine traveling to other planets, meeting alien species, and dealing with problems that don't exist." The alien computers began analyzing the fiction for practical applications but found none. The stories served no survival function and often depicted scenarios that were completely impossible. "These narratives contain no factual information," noted information specialist Texmore. "Humans invest significant time and resources creating and consuming content that has no basis in reality." "That's the point," Nancy said cheerfully. "We use imagination to explore possibilities, to entertain ourselves, and to think about how we might handle different situations. Fiction helps us understand ourselves and our world better." She showed them examples of human horror fiction, and the alien delegation's stress monitors immediately activated. The stories depicted humans voluntarily exposing themselves to terrifying situations for entertainment purposes. "These horror narratives describe scenarios designed to cause fear and psychological distress," Jexelin said, her voice filled with concern. "Yet humans consume this content for pleasure." "Horror stories are really popular," Nancy confirmed. "People enjoy being scared in a safe environment. It's exciting to experience danger without actual risk." The concept was completely alien to the delegation. Their species had evolved to avoid fear and stress at all costs. The idea that any rational being would seek out these experiences for entertainment was beyond their comprehension. Coach Frank Williams arrived to demonstrate human sports and competitive activities. "Dr. Thompson thought you might want to understand how humans use physical competition for entertainment," he said, setting up video displays. The alien delegation watched footage of American football, where heavily armored humans collided with each other at high speeds while pursuing a small ball. Their medical computers immediately classified every play as a series of controlled combat engagements. "This is a popular recreational activity," Frank explained. Teams of humans compete by attempting to advance this ball into the opposing team's territory while the other team tries to stop them through physical contact. Coach Williams, Medical Officer Hicksman, said urgently, "Our analysis indicates that participants in this activity routinely suffer injuries that would be considered serious trauma by galactic medical standards." "Football can be rough," Frank agreed. "Players sometimes get hurt, but they wear protective equipment and medical teams are always standing by. The players know the risks and choose to participate anyway." The alien delegation watched more sports footage showing humans engaging in various forms of ritualized combat. Boxing, wrestling, martial arts, and extreme sports all demonstrated the same pattern: humans voluntarily subjecting themselves to physical stress and potential injury for entertainment. "Your species has weaponized recreation," Security Chief Kekstar observed. "These activities appear to be training for combat situations." "Sports teach teamwork, strategy, and physical fitness," Frank replied. "But mostly, people play them because they're fun. Competition brings out the best in human performance." Stand-up comedian Jerry Adams entered the room and was asked to demonstrate human humor. "Dr. Thompson thought you might want to understand how humans use comedy to deal with difficult situations," he said, setting up a microphone. Jerry began performing a routine about everyday human experiences: traffic jams, workplace stress, relationship problems, and the general challenges of living on Earth. The alien delegation's translation: "Systems struggled to process why humans found their own suffering amusing." "I don't understand traffic," Jerry said. "We invented cars to go faster, then we all get in them at the same time and sit perfectly still for hours. It's like we're competing to see who can waste the most time while burning the most fuel." The alien audience sat in stunned silence while the human staff members laughed. Their psychological analysis computers could not determine why humans found descriptions of inefficient systems entertaining. "Mr. Adams," Jexelin said carefully, "you are describing situations that cause stress and frustration, yet humans respond with apparent pleasure. This suggests a fundamental disconnect between stimulus and response." "That's comedy," Jerry replied. "We laugh at the absurd situations we find ourselves in. It helps us cope with the fact that life is often ridiculous and unpredictable." The alien delegation requested a private consultation with their onboard psychologists. The concept of finding humor in suffering was so foreign to their understanding that they needed professional analysis to process it. The humans appeared to have developed psychological defense mechanisms that allow them to find pleasure in situations that would cause despair in most known species, the chief psychologist reported. "They have essentially evolved to be entertained by their own mortality." Dr. Thompson concluded the cultural presentation by showing the aliens examples of human music. The delegation listened to everything from classical symphonies to rock music to folk songs, each style representing different aspects of human experience. "Music helps us express emotions that are difficult to put into words," Dr. Thompson explained. "We create songs about love, loss, triumph, struggle, and hope. Music connects us to each other and helps us process our experiences." The alien delegation realized that human culture was not a distraction from survival. It was an integral part of how humans managed to survive. They had developed art, storytelling, sports, humor, and music as tools for processing the constant stress of living on a death world. "Dr. Thompson," Ambassador Zixtel said slowly, "your species has created an entire civilization based on transforming suffering into entertainment. You have weaponized creativity itself as a survival mechanism." "I guess you could look at it that way," Dr. Thompson replied thoughtfully. "But for us, culture isn't a weapon. It's what makes life worth living. Even when things are difficult, we can still create something beautiful or meaningful or funny." The alien delegation left the cultural center with a new understanding of humanity that was even more disturbing than their previous discoveries. Humans had not just survived on a death world. They had created art about it. Ambassador Zixtel stood in the main conference room at Edwards Air Force Base, His 4 eyes focused intently on General Patricia Stone as she reviewed the final reports from the past week of cultural exchange. The alien delegation had completed their comprehensive study of human civilization, and what they had discovered would change the course of galactic history forever. General Stone, Zixtal began, his voice carrying a weight that had not been present when they first arrived. I must confess that our mission to Earth was not entirely what we initially presented to your people. General Stone leaned back in her chair, her expression calm but alert. I figured there was more to this visit than simple first contact, Ambassador. Your people seemed awfully interested in our military capabilities and survival characteristics for a purely diplomatic mission. The alien delegation arranged themselves around the conference table, their environmental suits now seeming less like protection and more like barriers between themselves and beings they had come to regard as the most dangerous species in the known galaxy. The truth is, Zixtal continued, the Centauri Collective and our allied species have been facing an existential threat for the past 2 centuries. A species we call the Void Seekers has been systematically destroying civilizations across our sector of the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison, who had been quietly observing the conversation, leaned forward with interest. Destroying how, exactly? Complete annihilation, replied military analyst Vexcall. The Void Seekers arrive without warning, eliminate all resistance, and strip entire worlds of resources and life. They are unlike any enemy we have encountered. They appear to be motivated not by conquest or expansion, but by pure destruction. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez joined the conversation. What makes them so effective? Surely the combined galactic civilizations would have the resources to mount a defense. That is precisely the problem, Zixtal admitted. Every species in the Galactic Council evolved on worlds that were stable, safe, and conducive to peaceful development. We have advanced technology, but we lack the fundamental characteristics necessary to wage war against a truly aggressive enemy. General Stone nodded slowly. So you came here looking for soldiers? Initially, yes, Zixtal confirmed. Our intelligence indicated that your world harbored a species that had achieved spaceflight despite living in an extremely hostile environment. We hope to recruit humans as military support personnel or perhaps as evacuation specialists. The human delegation exchanged glances. Captain Morrison spoke first. That's not what you're thinking now, is it? No, Zixtal said, his voice filled with something that sounded almost like awe. After observing your species for the past week, we have reached a very different conclusion about humanity's potential role in this conflict. Science Officer Yexenol activated a holographic display showing the current state of the galactic war. Red indicators marked dozens of star systems that had fallen to the Void Seekers, while yellow indicators showed systems currently under attack. Every species we have encountered follows predictable patterns, Yexenol explained. When faced with superior force, they either flee or surrender. The Void Seekers have learned to exploit these responses. They destroy communication networks first, then systematically eliminate resistance through overwhelming displays of power. But humans, interrupted cultural specialist Jexlin, do not follow these patterns. Your species exhibits behavioral characteristics that our computers classify as impossible. Dr. Rodriguez looked puzzled. What do you mean by impossible? Humans become more dangerous when threatened, Jexlin explained. Most rational species become less effective under stress. Humans appear to thrive in crisis situations. Your fight or flight response has been weaponized into a fight-and-fight response. General Stone smiled grimly. We've had a lot of practice dealing with hostile situations. Medical Officer Hicksvan brought up the physiological data they had collected. General Stone, our analysis indicates that humans can function effectively under stress levels that would cause complete system failure in any known galactic species. Your people can operate in environments that would be immediately lethal to the Void Seekers. More importantly, added Security Chief Kekstar, humans have demonstrated the ability to create effective weapons from virtually any available materials. The Void Seekers rely on controlling enemy resources to maintain their advantage. This strategy would be ineffective against a species that can weaponize its environment. Ambassador Zixtal stood and faced the human delegation directly. We did not come here to recruit soldiers. We accidentally discovered the galaxy's apex predators. The question now is whether humanity would be willing to help protect species that could never protect themselves. Captain Morrison looked around the table at his colleagues. What exactly are you asking us to do? The Galactic Council is prepared to offer humanity full membership with extraordinary privileges, Zixtal replied. Access to advanced technology, established trade networks, and peaceful worlds suitable for human colonization. In exchange, we would ask that Earth serve as the galaxy's primary defense force against existential threats. You want us to be the galaxy's military, General Stone summarized. More than that, Zixtal said. We want humans to be the species that other species call when their survival is threatened. The galaxy needs protectors who can function in hostile environments, who become more effective under pressure, and who will fight for strangers with the same determination they show for their own people. Engineer Tony Baker, who had been listening, quietly spoke up. What makes you think we'd be willing to fight for species we've never met? Because, cultural specialist Jexlin replied, in every scenario we presented, humans consistently chose to help others even at personal risk. Your species has evolved altruism as a survival strategy. You cannot help but protect those who cannot protect themselves. Dr. Rodriguez raised a practical concern. The technology gap must be enormous. How could we possibly be effective against an enemy that has defeated advanced galactic civilizations? Dr. Rodriguez, Science Officer Yxanel said, the Void Seekers' greatest advantage is that they understand how rational species behave. They have never encountered a species that treats a Deathworld as home, that finds entertainment in mortal danger, and that becomes more dangerous when threatened. The Void Seekers destroy civilizations by making their worlds uninhabitable, added Yxanel. This strategy would be ineffective against a species that evolved on a world that was already trying to kill them. General Stone stood and walked to the window, looking out at the desert landscape that the aliens considered a hellish wasteland. You're saying that everything that makes Earth dangerous, the climate, the predators, the natural disasters, the toxic plants, all of that actually makes us better suited to fight this enemy? Precisely, Zixtal confirmed. The characteristics that allow humans to thrive on Earth would make them incredibly effective against the Void Seekers. More importantly, human psychological responses to stress and danger are completely outside the enemy's tactical calculations. The room fell silent as the human delegation considered the implications. They were being asked to become the galaxy's guardians, to use their survival skills on a cosmic scale. Captain Morrison broke the silence. When do we start? Ambassador Zixtal's 4 eyes widened in surprise. Captain Morrison, you have not had time to fully consider the implications of this request. You would be asking your entire species to accept enormous risks. Ambassador, General Stone said, turning back to face the group, you've spent a week trying to understand how humans think. Let me explain something simple. When someone threatens innocent people, humans don't need time to consider the implications. We just need to know where to point our weapons. But the dangers, Zixtal protested, the unknown technologies, the hostile environments you would encounter. Captain Morrison grinned, an expression that the aliens had learned to associate with humans accepting impossible challenges. Ambassador, you just spent a week showing us that we live on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy and we turned it into a vacation destination. How hard could the rest of the universe be? The alien delegation realized that they had not just found protectors for the galaxy. They had found a species that was actually excited about the prospect of fighting cosmic horror monsters in deep space. Very well, Ambassador Zixtal said, his voice filled with something between relief and terror. Welcome to the Galactic Council, humanity. May the universe survive the experience.